Amina, come here, her mother called. Amina walked over, feeling nervous. We have decided that you will marry Mr. Jafari, the wealthy man in our village, her father said gently. Mr. Jafari was an older man with a stern face and a big, grey beard. Amina's eyes filled with tears. But Papa, I don't want to marry him. I'm only 12. I want to go to school and become a doctor. Amina was a bright 12-year-old girl living in the small village of Lamba. She loved going to school and dreamed of becoming a doctor one day. She wanted to help people and see the world beyond her village. One sunny afternoon, as Amina came back from school, she noticed her parents talking seriously with some village elders. Their faces looked worried. Amina's heart started to beat faster. She felt something was wrong. Amina, come here, her mother called. Amina walked over, feeling nervous. We have decided that you will marry Mr. Jafari, the wealthy man in our village, her father said gently. Mr. Jafari was an older man with a stern face and a big, grey beard. Amina's eyes filled with tears. But Papa, I don't want to marry him. I'm only 12. I want to go to school and become a doctor. Her parents looked sad but firm. Amina, this is our tradition. We must follow it, her mother said softly. The days that followed were filled with preparations for the wedding. Amina felt like her dreams were being crushed. She tried to talk to her parents, but they wouldn't change their minds. The wedding day came, and Amina felt like a bird trapped in a cage. The village was full of music and laughter, but Amina could only feel sadness. She stood next to Mr. Jafari and felt a part of her heart break. When Amina arrived at Mr. Jafari's big house, she was amazed by the wealth. Tall walls surrounded the house, and guards stood at the gates. Inside, there were beautiful carpets and shiny decorations. But Amina felt out of place, like she didn't belong there. Mr. Jafari had other wives too. They welcomed her with cold smiles. Amina felt lonely and scared. She missed her home and her school. Every night, she cried herself to sleep, wishing for a way out. One night, Amina heard a soft knock on her window. She opened it and saw her friend, Noor, who was also a servant in Mr. Jafari's house. Noor was only 14 and also wanted to escape. Amina, I don't want to stay here. Let's run away and find a better life, Noor whispered. Amina's heart filled with hope. Yes, Noor. Let's escape together, she said. They made a plan. Late one night, they sneaked out of the house while everyone was asleep. They ran through the village and into the forest, their hearts pounding with fear and excitement. They walked for hours, helping each other along the way. Finally, they reached a small village where they asked for help. The villagers were kind and took them in. They gave Amina and Noor food and a place to stay. The village elder, a kind old woman named Grandma Sarah, listened to their story. She promised to help them go back to school. Amina and Noor were overjoyed. When Amina and Noor escaped, the news spread quickly through Mr. Jafari's house. Mr. Jafari was furious. He ordered his guards to search for the girls, but they couldn't find them. In their new village, Amina and Noor went to school every day. They studied hard and made new friends. Amina never gave up on her dream of becoming a doctor. She knew that one day, she would help others just like Grandma Sarah helped her. Back in the village of Lamba, Amina's parents were worried and sad. They loved their daughter and thought they were doing the right thing by following tradition. But when they realized Amina had run away, they felt deep regret. Mr. Jafari visited Amina's parents. "Your daughter has disgraced us," he shouted. "She must be found and brought back." Amina's father, Mr. Hassan, looked Mr. Jafari in the eye. "Mr. Jafari, we are sorry for what happened, but we will not force our daughter to return if she is unhappy," he said firmly. Mr. Jafari was very angry, but he could see that Mr. Hassan was determined. He stormed out of their house, vowing never to forgive them. Amina's parents were left alone, feeling the weight of their decision. They realized they had lost their daughter because they hadn't listened to her dreams and wishes. They hoped Amina was safe and happy wherever she was. Years later, Amina and Noor graduated. Amina became a doctor, and Noor became a teacher. Amina's mother, Mrs. Fatima, hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "We are so sorry, Amina," her mother cried. "We thought we were doing the right thing, but we were wrong." Amina forgave her parents. She knew they had acted out of tradition, not malice. Together, they worked to educate other parents in the village about the importance of letting children follow their dreams. Mr. Jafari, on the other hand, remained bitter and isolated. His other wives, seeing his anger and the changes happening in the village, eventually left him too. He lived alone in his grand house, a symbol of the old ways that were slowly fading. Amina and Noor's efforts transformed their village. Parents began to support their children's education and dreams. The community thrived, and girls were no longer forced into early marriages. Instead, they grew up to become teachers, doctors, and leaders. Amina's story became a beacon of hope, showing that change is possible when people stand up for what is right. And though her journey was difficult, it paved the way for a brighter future for all the children in her village. The end. Thanks for listening.